My son and daughter-in-law were throwing my 67th birthday party. My wife whispered, "Grab your bag. We're leaving now. Act like nothing's wrong." I thought she was joking, until she locked the car doors and said, "Something's very, very wrong. Look at this." What she showed me was evidence I never expected. My son wanted to harm me, and he almost succeeded. But before I tell you what happened next, I need to know, where are you watching this from? Comment your city below. Your support helps this story reach others who need this warning. And if you've ever felt something was wrong but couldn't prove it, you're not alone. Now let me take you back to that night. The ballroom looked perfect. Golden balloons, white lilies everywhere, a banner reading, "Congratulations, Douglas Pemberton. 40 years of excellence." My son Trevor had outdone himself. At 67, after building Pemberton Investment Group to $16.8 million, this should have been one of the proudest nights of my life. I stood near the bar, surrounded by 150 guests, colleagues, old friends, neighbors from our Gold Coast building. They all wanted to shake my hand, tell me they'd miss me at the office. "Dad, you doing okay?" Trevor appeared beside me, his hand on my shoulder. At 38, he looked confident in his navy suit. "You look pale." Truth was, I felt dizzy. The room had tilted moments ago. "Just tired, son. Long week." "You've been saying that a lot lately." He frowned. "Maybe sit down." "I'm fine." I squeezed his arm. "Thanks for organizing this. Means everything." "Anything for you, Dad. You've earned this retirement." I'd been having these spells for months. Fatigue, dizziness, memory lapses Caroline called senior moments, though worry flickered in her eyes. Trevor had been concerned too, making sure I took my vitamins every morning. "Health is wealth, Dad," he'd say, handing me the bottle. Good son, attentive son, or so I thought. Across the room, Caroline stood rigid near the entrance. My wife's face was drawn, shoulders tense. She'd been quiet all evening. I'd asked twice if something was wrong. Both times she said she was fine. But 43 years of marriage taught me when she was lying. She caught my eye. Even 30 feet away I saw it. Fear, raw terror. Caroline moved through the crowd, her cream dress swishing. She leaned close, breath warm against my ear. "We need to leave." Her voice shook. "Right now. Don't ask questions. Just trust me." I searched her face. Her hand gripped mine painfully tight. "Caroline." "Now, Douglas, please." In 4 decades together, I'd never heard that tone. Pure fear. I set my glass down. We made excuses, forgotten doctor's appointment. Trevor looked disappointed. "Feel better, Dad. We'll celebrate soon." He hugged me, arms strong around my shoulders. The drive to our penthouse was silent except for Caroline's ragged breathing. She drove fast, knuckles white on the wheel. Questions burned in my throat, but her rigid posture stopped me. We pulled into the underground garage. Caroline killed the engine but didn't move. She reached into her purse, pulled out a tablet. Trevor's tablet. "Read this." Her voice broke. "All of it." The screen showed a messaging app. Trevor's messages. My eyes found the first one from someone named Derek Brooks. I read it once, then again. The words made no sense. "The compound is ready. It'll be in his drink tonight. 10 minutes after he drinks it, his heart will stop. He has a history. No one will suspect a thing." My vision blurred. The tablet shook in my hands. "Keep reading," Caroline whispered. I scrolled. More messages. Dates going back months. Details about dosages, about timing, about symptoms that would look natural, about vitamins laced with poison, about me. My son, the boy I'd raised, loved, trusted, had been planning to kill me. The next message confirmed it. Perfect. 6 months of preparation. Tonight we finish it. Your father won't suffer. Quick, clean, untraceable. And then the money is yours. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The garage walls pressed in. "Douglas." Caroline's hand covered mine. "I found these 3 days ago. I've been trying to figure out what to do. But tonight was supposed to be..." She couldn't finish. She didn't need to. Tonight was supposed to be my last night alive. We made it upstairs somehow. I don't remember the elevator ride. The penthouse felt foreign, like someone else's home. Caroline guided me to the couch, but I couldn't sit. Couldn't stop pacing. "This is a mistake." The tablet shook in my hand. "Someone hacked his phone. It's fake." "Douglas." "No." I turned to face her. "Trevor wouldn't. He's our son Caroline." "I know who he is." Tears streamed down her face. You think I wanted to believe it? I've spent 3 days praying I was wrong? 3 days? The words hit like a slap. You've known for 3 days. How do you tell your husband his son is trying to murder him? Murder. The word hung between us. Read the rest, she whispered. All of it? I scrolled through more messages. 6 months of planning. 6 months of Trevor discussing dosages with Derek Brooks, Rebecca's brother, a chemist. 6 months of questions about symptoms, about making it look natural. One message from 4 months ago stopped me cold. Trevor, he's getting weaker. The fatigue is noticeable. How much longer? Derek? 2 more months, then we increase for the final push. Slow poisoning is an art. I barely made it to the bathroom before I vomited. When I returned, Caroline sat with her face in her hands. I collapsed beside her. Tell me how you found these. She took a shaky breath. Wednesday morning, 3 days ago. Trevor said I could pick up his tablet from their apartment. He'd left it here last week. I nodded numb. I went to Lincoln Park. Trevor was at the gym. Rebecca was showering. The tablet was on their kitchen counter screen lit. A notification popped up from Derek. Something about the compound being ready? Her voice cracked. Douglas, I stood in their kitchen reading how they were going to kill you, how they'd been doing it for months, how tonight would be the final dose, how your heart would stop and everyone would think it was natural. The realization crashed over me. My vitamins. Caroline nodded. Every morning for 6 months. Trevor started that routine, remember? Said you needed to be healthier for retirement. Health is wealth, Dad. I heard his voice in my head. Saw his smile as he handed me the bottle each morning. My son had been killing me with a smile. I took pictures with my phone, Caroline continued, then left before Rebecca came out. I went home and I didn't know what to do. Call the police. But what if I was wrong? What if there was an explanation? For 6 months of messages about poisoning me. I know, but he's our son. I kept hoping. She broke off sobbing. I pulled her close. We sat on the same couch where we'd celebrated Trevor's college acceptance toasted at his wedding, where he'd been planning my death. Tomorrow, Caroline's voice was firm now. First thing, hospital, blood test. Caroline, no arguments. We need proof, real proof. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize forever. But if I'm right... Her eyes met mine. If I'm right, our son has been murdering you for 6 months. I wanted to argue, wanted to defend him, wanted to believe there was some explanation, but I couldn't. Deep down, I knew. She was right. Okay, I whispered. Tomorrow, first thing. Outside our windows, the city glittered. Somewhere out there, Trevor was wondering why we'd left his perfect party early. Somewhere out there, my son was waiting for me to die. Northwestern Memorial Hospital's waiting room smelled like antiseptic and anxiety. Caroline and I had been sitting in those uncomfortable plastic chairs for 3 hours. My wife hadn't let go of my hand since we arrived. Her grip tight, the kind of hold you give someone when you're afraid they might disappear. I kept thinking about those messages. 6 months. Trevor had been poisoning me, slipping something into those vitamins he insisted I take every morning. For your health, Dad, he'd say, and I'd believed him. Mr. Pemberton. A nurse appeared. Doctor Hayes will see you now. Dr. Hayes was maybe 50, with graying hair and eyes that had delivered bad news too many times. He gestured for us to sit, but Caroline remained standing, arms crossed, tight. Mr. Pemberton, he began, his tone making my stomach drop. I've reviewed your blood work 3 times. I even sent samples to 2 different labs to confirm. He paused. You have elevated levels of a potassium-based compound in your system. Significantly elevated. What does that mean? My voice came out hoarse. It means someone has been poisoning you. Slowly, methodically. He pulled up results on his computer. Based on the accumulation patterns, I'd estimate 6 months of exposure. 6 months. The messages had been right. How bad is it? Caroline's voice trembled. Dr. Hayes turned to face us both. Mr. Pemberton, at current levels, you have perhaps 1 to 2 weeks before the toxin causes cardiac arrest. The room tilted. 1 to 2 weeks. Trevor hadn't just been planning to kill me. He'd been actively killing me for half a year. Every morning when he handed me those vitamins, every concerned phone call, checking on my health, he'd been counting down to my death. Can you treat it? Caroline demanded. We can begin chelation therapy immediately to reduce the toxin levels, but the damage is extensive. We'll do everything we can, but you need to understand whoever did this came very close to succeeding. It was our son. The words came out flat. Trevor, the vitamins he gave me, that's how he did it, isn't it? Dr. Hayes's professional mask cracked, revealing something that looked like horror. I'll need to report this to the authorities. We already have evidence, Caroline said, her voice harder now. Messages proof of intent. But we need this as scientific confirmation. I'll prepare a full toxicology report for law enforcement. Dr. Hayes extended his hand. Mr. Pemberton, start treatment immediately, and avoid any contact with whoever did this until they're in custody. In the parking garage, Caroline and I sat in silence. Around us, Chicago carried on cars honking, people rushing, the world spinning forward, while mine had ground to a halt. My son had poisoned me. My son had looked me in the eyes every morning for 6 months and handed me death in a pill bottle. What do we do now? Caroline finally asked. I looked down at my hands, the same hands that had held Trevor. When he was born, taught him to throw a baseball. Shaken his hand when he joined my company. They were shaking now. Now, I turned to my wife, and for the first time since reading those messages, I felt something other than shock. I felt rage. Cold, clear, focused rage. Now we fight back. Trevor wanted to kill me for that money. I started the engine. He's about to learn exactly what his father is capable of when he's fighting for his life. We had 1 week, maybe 2, but it would be enough. Thursday afternoon, Caroline and I sat across from Raymond Foster in his downtown Chicago office. The lawyer was 65, silver-haired, with the kind of steady presence that came from decades of handling family cases gone wrong. His office overlooked Michigan Avenue, the city carrying on below like nothing had changed. Mr. Pemberton, Raymond said, studying the messages Caroline had forwarded. These are damning, but they won't hold up in court. Obtained without a warrant from Trevor's personal device, any defense attorney gets them thrown out. So he walks free. Bitterness flooded my voice. Not if we do this right. We need legally obtained evidence. Raymond leaned forward. We set a trap. Invite them to dinner at your home. Your property means we can legally record everything. If Trevor attempts to poison you again, we have him. He pressed his intercom. Send in Paul Henderson. The man who entered was maybe 52 solid build, with alert eyes that had spent years reading people. Former Chicago PD Detective Raymond explained now private investigation. Mr. Pemberton, Paul said, opening his laptop. I've been digging into your daughter-in-law. Rebecca Morgan is what she calls herself now. 4 years ago, she was Nicole Patterson. Caroline's hand tightened on mine. Paul pulled up a police report. Nicole was married to Thomas Morgan, a 52-year-old investment banker in Oak Park. 4 years ago, he fell down the stairs at home. Death ruled accidental, but his daughter didn't believe it. Accidental, I repeated, my blood going cold. Melissa Morgan was 26 then. She pushed hard for investigation, but there wasn't enough evidence. Nicole inherited $2.4 million, then vanished. Changed her name legally 3 years ago, right before meeting your son. I stared at Thomas Morgan's photo on screen. A smiling man at some family gathering, never suspecting his young wife was planning his death, just like I hadn't suspected Trevor. She's done this before, I said slowly. Or Trevor knew exactly what he was getting, Raymond interjected. Those messages mention her understanding the situation. What if he chose her specifically because she had experience? The room tilted. My son deliberately partnering with a killer. There's more, Paul continued. Derek Brooks works at Medchem Labs, has access to controlled substances. 3 months ago, inventory showed discrepancies in potassium compounds. Small amounts, nothing triggering investigation, but enough to kill you. If we prove Derek supplied the poison, that's conspiracy to commit murder, Raymond said. He'll flip on Trevor and Rebecca to save himself. I contacted Melissa Morgan this morning, Paul added. She's 30 now, lives in Evanston. When I told her about your case, he paused. She wants justice, for her father and for you. She'll testify about her suspicions regarding Thomas's death. Raymond steepled his fingers. Here's the planned Saturday night dinner at your house. We install cameras and recording equipment, all legal on your property. We give Trevor the perfect opportunity to finish what he started. My team includes a paramedic on standby. If Trevor poisons a drink, we switch it before you consume anything. And if he suspects something, Caroline asked, he won't. Paul said confidently. You're dying on his schedule. Why would you suspect your devoted son? Raymond's expression turned serious. Douglas, understand this. Once we do this, there's no going back. Your son goes to prison. So does Rebecca. Your family as you knew it ends. Are you certain? I thought about 6 months of Trevor handing me death with a smile. I thought about Thomas Morgan tumbling down those stairs while his wife watched. I thought about Melissa, 4 years of knowing but unable to prove. I thought about the blood test 1 to 2 weeks left. He stopped being my son the moment he decided I was worth more dead than alive. My voice came out steady cold. We have 6 days. Let's make them count. Raymond nodded. Then let's get to work. Friday morning, an unmarked van pulled into our Gold Coast driveway. Paul Henderson's team worked quickly transforming our home into a surveillance grid. 8 cameras, Paul explained. Living room, dining room, kitchen, pinhole lenses invisible. Audio in the light fixtures. He handed me a device. This connects to monitors in the van. Raymond and I watch everything real time. And the medical team? I asked. Paramedic van, 2 houses down Wednesday night. Dr. Hayes' colleague inside with chelation drugs and cardiac equipment. If Trevor gets poison into your system, we have 90 seconds. By afternoon, our home looked normal. Nothing betrayed the cameras, the microphones, but I felt them constantly. Saturday and Sunday blurred into rehearsal. Caroline and I practiced the switch 100 times. Me reaching for the whiskey, her accidentally knocking it over, substituting an identical glass. It has to look natural, Raymond coached. Trevor's smart. If he suspects setup, he walks. By Sunday night, the motion was muscle memory. Monday morning, I picked up my phone. My hand shook scrolling to Trevor's number. 6 months of I love you, Dad texts stared back. 6 months of lies. He answered on the second ring. Dad, how are you feeling? Dying, thanks to you. Tired, son. Can you and Rebecca come to dinner Wednesday, just the 4 of us? I've been thinking about family. Silence. Then, of course, Dad. What time? 7 o'clock. We'll be there. Family is what matters, Dad. I hung up before I said something I'd regret. The next 2 days crawled. I continued chelation treatments at Northwestern Memorial. Dr. Hayes monitoring my levels. The poison was diminishing, but slowly. Tuesday night, I barely slept. At 3 a.m., Caroline whispered, "We can still call this off, and watch him walk on a technicality." I stared at the ceiling. No, we finish this. Wednesday arrived with cruel normalcy. The sun rose over Lake Michigan. Chicago went about its business, and I prepared to have dinner with my son, knowing he planned to kill me. Paul called at noon. Equipment check complete. Cameras operational. Medical team briefed. We're ready. So am I lied. Caroline spent the afternoon cooking real pot roast, real mashed potatoes. The smells filling our house were achingly familiar reminders of 1,000 family dinners, when I'd believed my son loved me. By 6:30 p.m., everything was ready. Paul's van sat 3 houses down. The paramedic team waited around the corner. 8 cameras watched our dining room. Caroline finished setting the table. She'd placed the marked whiskey glass at my seat. An identical backup sat within reach, ready for the switch. I checked my watch. 6:45 p.m. You look pale, Caroline said softly. I'm about to have dinner with my son while he tries to murder me. I attempted to smile. Pale seems appropriate. She took my face in her hands. We're going to end this. Tonight. My watch read 6:50. I walked to the window, watching for headlights. Somewhere nearby, a paramedic checked equipment. In a van down the street, cameras prepared to record my son's betrayal. In this dining room, a marked glass waited. The doorbell would ring soon. Trevor would smile, hug me, ask how I was feeling, and then he'd try to finish what he started 6 months ago. I poured myself bourbon, real clean, untainted, and waited for my son to arrive. At exactly 7 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Trevor stood there with Rebecca, both dressed for celebration. My son wore a navy blazer, that confident smile I'd once been proud of. Rebecca looked elegant in a black dress, eyes bright with anticipation. Dad. Trevor hugged me. I forced myself not to recoil. You look good. No thanks to you. Some days are better than others. Caroline emerged from the kitchen. Trevor, Rebecca, so glad you could make it. We settled in the living room with small talk that felt like swallowing glass. Trevor asked about my health, my retirement, the future of the estate. Rebecca's hand occasionally touched his arm, silent communication. Trevor helped me get drinks. I stood. I've got that 18-year Macallan you love. Of course, Dad. In my study, I poured bourbon into 2 crystal glasses. Above us, a pinhole camera recorded everything. My hands were steady despite my hammering heart. I've been thinking about what you said, Trevor said casually, about family being what matters. Everything I've built was for family. I set down the bottle. I'll be right back, forgot the ice. I stepped into the hallway, leaving Trevor alone with the glasses for exactly 10 seconds. 10 seconds for my son to make his choice. When I returned with ice, Trevor stood by the window, hands in pockets. The glasses sat on my desk, amber liquid catching light. I dropped ice into both glasses, handed one to Trevor. We returned to the dining room where Caroline had set out pot roast. The marked whiskey glass sat at my place. Trevor raised his glass. To family. To family, I echoed. I brought the glass halfway to my lips when Caroline moved behind me, reaching for the serving dish. Her elbow connected with my arm, practiced 100 times, and the glass flew from my hand. Crystal shattered against hardwood bourbon, splashing across the tablecloth. Oh God, Douglas, I'm so sorry. Rebecca's face went white, her eyes wide with horror and fury. Trevor's jaw clenched knuckles, whitening. It's fine, I said, voice deliberately weak. Actually, I'm not feeling well. My chest, I pressed my hand to my sternum. Dad, Trevor half rose. Should we call 911? No, just need rest. Maybe we should call it a night. We just got here, Rebecca said tightly. Sorry to cut the evening short. I stood carefully. Trevor, can you see yourselves out? My son stared at me, calculating, wondering if the poison had somehow worked. Of course, Dad. Feel better. He kissed my cheek, Judas, with a smile. Caroline walked them to the door. Through the window, I watched them reach their car. Trevor's hand shook, unlocking the door. They pulled away, and I picked up my phone. Paul, you get it. Every second in 4K. Trevor adding powder to your glass, clear as day. I walked to where crystal shards glittered. Somewhere in that spilled bourbon was enough poison to stop my heart. 30 minutes later, sirens cut through Gold Coast. I stood at my window watching red and blue lights converge 2 blocks away, Trevor's street. My phone buzzed, Paul's text, both in custody. It's over. Caroline stood beside me. 43 years of marriage. She'd saved my life tonight. It's over, I whispered. Her hand found mine. No, it's just beginning. At 9:30 p.m., Chicago PD descended on Trevor's townhouse in Lincoln Park. I watched from Paul's van as officers led my son and daughter-in-law out in handcuffs, their faces pale under the streetlights. Trevor kept looking back at his door like he was waiting to wake up from a nightmare. He wouldn't wake up. This was real. Search team found everything, Paul said, listening to his radio. White powder residue in an envelope in Rebecca's purse. The vitamin bottle, still half full of poisoned capsules, in Trevor's bathroom cabinet. Text messages on both phones. It's airtight, Douglas. I nodded, unable to speak. My son had kept those poisoned vitamins in his bathroom like they were aspirin. My phone rang at midnight. Trevor's number. I stared at it, watching it vibrate in my hand. Don't answer, Caroline said. I answered. Dad, please. Trevor's voice was wrecked, desperate. This is a mistake, a misunderstanding. You have to tell them. Tell them what? That you didn't poison me for 6 months. That the cameras didn't record you putting powder in my drink tonight. Dad, I can explain. No. The word came out flat final. You can explain to your lawyer. Don't call this number again. I hung up, blocked his number. 40 years of fatherhood ended with a button press. Friday morning, Detective Paul Henderson called. Trevor's asking to see you. You don't have to go. I want to, I said. Caroline looked at me sharply but didn't argue. Some conversations had to happen, even the ones that destroyed you. The interrogation room at the Chicago PD Central District smelled like stale coffee and fear. They'd put Trevor in an orange jumpsuit that made him look younger, smaller. When I walked in, he stood so fast his chair scraped against concrete. Dad, sit down. My voice carried command I'd used in boardrooms for 40 years. Trevor sat. I took the chair across from him, Detective Henderson standing by the door. A camera in the corner recorded everything. More evidence for the case that would send my son to prison. You wanted to talk, I said. Talk. Trevor's hands shook on the metal table. Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You poisoned me for 6 months? How much farther could it go? I was desperate. Tears started down his face. The debts, Dad. Crypto investments went bad. I lost $700,000. Then I borrowed from the wrong people, got in deeper. I owed $1.1 million. They were threatening me, said they'd kill me if I didn't pay. So you decided to kill me instead. I didn't know what else to do. I'd already taken $400,000 from the company. You embezzled from me. The betrayal kept finding new depths. I was going to pay it back, I swear. But it wasn't enough, and they kept calling, kept threatening, and I just... He put his head in his hands. I panicked. You planned. I kept my voice level. For 6 months you planned. You contacted Derek Brooks, got the poison-tested dosages. You watched me get weaker and pretended to care. That's not panic, Trevor. That's premeditation. Rebecca helped me see there was a way out. Don't! I leaned forward. Don't you dare blame her. You made this choice. I'm not blaming her. She understood the pressure I was under. She'd been through difficult situations before. You mean when she murdered her first husband? Trevor's face went white. That what you told me? That was an accident. And you believed her? Or did you choose a woman who'd already killed because you needed someone who knew how? Silence. In that silence I saw the truth. Trevor had known exactly what Rebecca was. Maybe not at first, but eventually. And he'd stayed because she could teach him how to get away with murder. I love you, Dad, Trevor whispered. I know you don't believe that, but I do. I never wanted to hurt you. You wanted me dead. I wanted the pain to stop. The calls, the threats, the fear, I just wanted it all to stop. I stood slowly, every one of my 67 years weighing on me. You know what stops now. You. Us. Whatever relationship we had, whatever love I had for you, it stops right here. I looked down at my son, this stranger wearing Trevor's face. You're not my son anymore. You're just a failed murderer who's going to prison. Dad, please. Goodbye, Trevor. I walked to the door. Behind me, Trevor's voice rose to a shout. Dad, Dad, please, don't leave me, Dad. His screams followed me down the hallway through the police station into the parking lot where Caroline waited. She took one look at my face and pulled me into her arms. It's done, I said into her shoulder. He's gone. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I let myself break. 6 months later, I sat in Cook County Criminal Courthouse, watching my son stand trial for attempting to murder me. Judge Nathan Fitzgerald presided silver-haired and stern. The People versus Trevor Pemberton and Rebecca Morgan. Charges conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and first-degree murder of Thomas Morgan. District Attorney Charles Norton stood. Your Honor, the evidence is overwhelming. He began with the video. On screens throughout the courtroom, we watched Trevor in my study glancing toward the door, then pulling an envelope from his pocket. White powder into my whiskey glass. 10 seconds in crystal clear. 4K. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Trevor stared at the table, face pale. This video was obtained legally from Mr. Pemberton's home, Norton continued. Note the time stamped 7:14 p.m. October 11th. Next came physical evidence. The envelope with potassium chloride residue, the vitamin bottle from Trevor's bathroom, 23 poison capsules remaining. For 6 months, Trevor Pemberton systematically poisoned his father, Norton said. Each vitamin brought Douglas Pemberton closer to cardiac arrest. Dr. Hayes testified about my blood work, about how close I'd come to death, days maybe, hours. Then Norton dropped the bomb. Thomas Morgan died 4 years ago in what was ruled accidental. 6 months ago, based on new evidence, his body was exhumed. Photos appeared, forensic reports, bone samples. Arsenic, massive quantities. Thomas Morgan was poisoned over months. And the person who inherited $2.4 million, he pointed. Rebecca Morgan, then Nicole Patterson. Melissa Morgan took the stand, tears streaming. My father was healthy until Nicole came. Within 6 months, he was weak dizzy. She convinced him to change his will. 2 weeks later, he fell. Her voice broke. I always knew she killed him. The evidence was crushing. Messages between Trevor and Derek. Derek's confession, 8 years for testimony. Lab records. Financial records showing Trevor's 1.1 million, debt 400,000 embezzlement. Then came the turning point. Trevor took the stand. Mr. Pemberton, his lawyer, began, "Explain your relationship with Rebecca Morgan." Trevor looked at Rebecca, then the jury. She manipulated me. The poison, the plan. It was her idea. She'd done it before. She threatened me, said if I didn't help, she'd destroy me. The courtroom erupted. Rebecca lunged up, screaming, "You liar! It was your idea. You contacted Derek." Order. Judge Fitzgerald's gavel cracked. Norton smiled grimly, reading from his phone. Text from Trevor Pemberton to Derek Brooks. April 3rd. I need something that causes heart attacks. My father has a condition, no one will question it. April 3rd. Your Honor, 3 months before Rebecca knew about the plan. Trevor's face crumbled. Rebecca stared at him with pure hatred. The jury deliberated 40 minutes. On all counts, the forewoman announced. Guilty. Judge Fitzgerald's voice was ice. Trevor Pemberton, 22 years. Rebecca Morgan, 35 years 20 for Thomas Morgan's murder. 15 for conspiracy against Douglas Pemberton. Derek Brooks, 8 years. Trevor turned, finding me in the crowd. Dad, please. I stood and walked out. Behind me, his voice rose to desperate shouting. I didn't look back. In the hallway, Melissa found me. Thank you. For 4 years, no one believed me. You gave my father justice. Caroline's arm around me was the only thing keeping me upright. 22 years. Trevor would be 60 when he got out. Let's go home, Caroline said softly. We walked out into Chicago sunlight, leaving the courthouse behind. 1 year after the trial, I turned 68 in a small apartment in Evanston overlooking Lake Michigan. No retirement party this time, just Caroline, a quiet dinner, and the sound of waves. It was everything I needed. We'd sold the Gold Coast house, too many ghosts. Sold Pemberton Investment Group, too. $16.8 million, all donated. Half to organizations supporting elderly financial abuse victims. Half to the Thomas Morgan Foundation established by Melissa to help families investigate suspicious deaths. The money that nearly got me killed now protected others. Trevor's letters started arriving 3 months into his sentence. One every month, like clockwork. Dad, I'm getting help. Therapy. I understand now what I did. Dad, I think about you every day. I'm sorry. Dad, please write back. Just once. I read them all, never responded. The letters sat in a drawer, unread by anyone but me. On a cool November afternoon, Judith Palmer visited Caroline's friend from book club. We sat on my balcony watching sailboats drift across gray water. Have you forgiven him? She asked. I thought about it. Really thought. I'm learning to forgive myself, I said finally. For not seeing who he'd become, for trusting blindly. I paused. But Trevor, I don't know if I can. Forgiveness isn't mandatory, Judith said gently. Survival is. That evening, Caroline and I walked along the lakefront. November wind cut through our jackets, but neither of us wanted to go inside. What did you learn from all this? She asked. I watched the water, thinking about Trevor handing me those vitamins every morning, about Rebecca's calculated smile, about realizing my own son wanted me dead. I learned that love doesn't justify betrayal, I said slowly. That family isn't always safe, that the people closest to you can become strangers. I squeezed her hand, and I learned that 43 years of marriage means something. You saved my life, Caroline. We saved each other, she said. Maybe she was right. We're 68 and 62, now starting over with nothing but each other and the life we rebuilt from ashes. Some would call that failure, losing, everything betrayed by your only child beginning again at retirement age. I call it survival. Trevor will be released when he's 60. I'll be 89 if I'm still here. I don't know if I'll see him. That's a decision for future Douglas. Right now, I'm focused on today. Today, I'm alive. Today, Caroline and I watched sunrise over Lake Michigan. Today, we had coffee and talked about volunteering at the community center. Today was enough. I'm 68 years old. I'm still breathing, and I've learned the most important lesson. It's never too late to start over. Never too late to choose yourself. Never too late to build a life worth living. Looking back, I see what I missed. I trusted blindly when I should have questioned. This is my true story, and it's a warning I pray you never need. Don't be like me. Don't Don't ignore warning signs because you love someone. This true story nearly ended with my death, and only God's grace through Caroline saved me. Here's what I learned. First, verify trust even with your children. Second, protect yourself legally before crisis hits. Third, listen to your spouse when they sense danger. God gave me Caroline for a reason. Some nights I still wonder where I failed as a father. But my pastor said, Douglas, you can't control another person's choices. Those words given by God through him brought peace. This grandpa story's warning isn't unique. Financial elder abuse happens daily, children draining elderly parents. But with vigilance we survive, we rebuild. If my true story helps one person recognize danger, if one grandpa verifies those helpful vitamins or checks suspicious transfers, then sharing my pain was worth it. So I'm asking, have you seen this? Know someone at risk? Comment your city below. Let's build awareness. Share this if you know an elderly person who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you believe grandpa stories like these, real grandpa stories from survivors, deserve to be told. Your engagement saves lives. Don't let my story become theirs. God bless. Stay vigilant.